Welcome. This is Tampa Home Talk, and I'm your host, Katrina Madewell, and we have a super fun edition of Tampa Home Talk coming your way today. I want to introduce our guest for the show today, Mr. Thad Diaz. He is none other than a published author like me with way more books. Can't wait to talk about those. Can't wait to read them. Actually going on a trip. I'm going to take them with me.
Oh, I look forward to
whatever you give me,
think.
I'm going to take them with me.
We'll see. We'll work it out. Whatever you want.
Yeah, and he's was retired firefighter,
Yes.
not for Pasco, but also Hillsborough, more than 20 years.
Yeah, I did 25 total. I did 4 in Pasco, and I did 21 in Hillsborough.
So incredible story. And I would love to go back to whenever it was that you wrote your first book. What gave you the idea? How'd you get started? Because so many people say, oh, I want to write a book, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then to actually finish it is something else. And then, like you said before the show, it took you 10 years to do that.
Most better part of it.
Which is not uncommon for
Right.
an author that has published a book. If you ran down that road before you understand that journey, right?
Yeah.
So talk about that. How old were you when you published your first book? What book was it? And talk about that 10-year journey. And more importantly, what gave you that push at the end to actually get it finished, right? Because that's the hardest part.
So the story is I was a firefighter already. I got hired in 96, and I had a friend of a friend, and he had gotten some feedback on a story that he had written, and that feedback was.
Was this like for the paper or?
He had submitted a manuscript for a TV, and I read it for a TV show, and I read it, and he got really positive feedback from. And I read that, and I thought, because I've always been kind of a creative guy, and I've been kind of interested in stuff. I was always interested in when we would take in English how authors would construct stories and themes and all that stuff. I always thought that was cool.
Yeah, I should have paid more attention in school to that stuff. But
It's interesting. Well, obviously, I like it, and
it makes you want to retake that stuff as an adult, doesn't it?
yeah. But this guy, he got good feedback, and I read it, and I thought, well, I could do that too. And the next thing you know, I sat down and started working on a story, and I would chip away at it. I was a firefighter. I was a family man, so I had a lot going on. So it wasn't a full-time thing. It was more like I spent a lot of time on it, but it was a hobby at that time.
Well, back then it was probably in a physical book because we're in the digital era now. But
I wrote that in 2000. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to walk over you. I wrote that in 2000, but I actually didn't publish it until 2012. So all of my stuff is independently published. I did get picked up by Wordfire Press, one book, but I bought my rights back because I like being independent. And so I wrote it from 2000 to about 2008, 2010. And then it got published. I finally published it in 2012, 2013 with the help of my then girlfriend, I guess she would have.
Yeah.
She's my wife now. And she was like, yeah, you should totally.
Oh, that's so great. So she helped you finish it.
Yep.
I love that. I mean, and that's the truth, really. So as an author, I think it's important to share that for anyone listening that has an idea for a book. Maybe they're in the middle of writing a book. Mm-hmm. It's a process. And I learned a lot writing my first book. I really did. Because you're writing all this stuff, and then people that have a lot of experience or have written many books, or you can hire an independent editor that can help. There's different names and different people that helped along the way. But essentially, they will help you organize it, right? So some of the things I didn't think about necessarily when I'm just rambling on is she says you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end of each chapter, little basic stuff, right? You have to be able to tie it all together. There's a certain art to writing a book.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different philosophies on how that's done and stuff, and even structure. There's a debate within the writing community, 3X structure, that there's all kinds of stuff. But I do think that as a matter of perspective, I think the thing is pacing, and you're right. You do have to have a beginning, a middle, end of all your scenes, and that way you have this always constant tension. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to do it. It's funny we talk about this. I'm going to be at Comic-Con in a couple of weeks talking about this very thing and about how you have to keep your story going by having a beginning, a middle, and end, not just of the book, but
every chapter
and every scene, so that you keep that tension going throughout.
Yeah, it's funny. They say books are like tattoos. Once you get one, you're always thinking about what the next one's going to be. Mm-hmm. And I found that to be incredibly true. I never thought that would be the case, but it's definitely the case.
Yeah, I'm actually right now writing 2 at the moment. I'm working on one post-production. I'm writing another one. So yeah, we were all, writers. It's an addiction.
So when, I have to ask you this just before we dive into the meat. When is your sweet time like to write? When do you like to write in the mornings? Do you like to write in the evenings? Like when do you feel like it just flows when you grab your pen and your paper?
So being that I'm retired as a firefighter, I have the whole day to myself. And basically it does depend, but I prefer to do the morning. When I like to get up, I like to get started, but usually I do a 6 or 8 hour day of writing.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it can be, but you know, I've got 2 projects, so I do the first 3 hours in the morning, break for lunch, start at about 9 o'clock, break for lunch. I do a couple business things when I get up because I'm an independent writer. So because I'm indie, I have there's so much. Like I'm in YouTube now and I'm doing all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah.
And that takes up a big hunk of my day, making those videos and little videos and planning. So, but I try to do like 3 hours in the morning on one, and then 3 hours. And sometimes I move that around depending on where I'm at, what's going on, what kind of deadlines I'm up against, those kinds of things.
It's interesting how life changes too, because the morning used to be my sweet spot when I would get up, have my coffee, sit on my lanai. This is the house I was in for 20 years, and I would love to just write. And then sometimes I wouldn't want to go to work. I would just want to stay out there and write all day. And I was like, all right, I got to stop and go to work. But now I've found the evening seems to be a little better sometimes. It just depends on the day.
Yeah, well, see, me, it's the opposite. I used to be a big night owl.
Really?
Yeah, big time. And people who know me now and know me probably for the last 15 years are like, what are you talking about? You're a morning guy. And I am now, but kids will make you do that. And
yes.
I think having getting up in the morning to go to work and all that stuff that helps too. But,
yes.
Let me ask you this question.
For sure.
Yes, sir.
As a writer, and your friends know you're a writer, and I met you at an arts and crafts show.
Yep.
And do people approach you and ask you or tell you that they want to write a book because you being an author? Do they ever ask you for advice?
All the time. It is, and I just did a little video about this yesterday on my YouTube channel, a little short, but yeah, they do. And the advice that the biggest advice I give anybody is if you want to write and you have this project that you want inside you that you want to get out, do a little bit every day. Find something. Get up an hour early. Stay up a little late. Work some time into your lunch hour if you're working, which let's be honest, most people are. Find a place that you can do 500 to 1,000 words a day, and in 100 days you'll have 50 to 100,000 words. And just keep moving from there.
Even if it's messy, right? Just get it all out, because there's always people that can help you organize that and rearrange it and actually get it into a book format. Well,
one of the great philosophies, and it's one of the great truisms, I won't call this a philosophy, is you can edit something that's on paper. That blank page, you can't do anything with.
Right. Yeah, that's true. You can't, if it's not done, you can't do anything with it.
That's it. So something on paper is better than nothing.
So Thad, you have 20, how many books?
So I've written a total, I'd have to add them up, but I think I'm writing, I'm writing 21 or 20, I'm probably writing 22 and 23 right now, if I had to guess.
I love it. He wrote so many he lost count. I love that.
They're not all available, right?
Okay.
So like being an indie guy, my first couple, that one book that I worked so hard on, I don't really like it so much anymore. So the trilogy that it's based on, and I pulled a couple of fantasy books that I love the books. The prose is great, but they're a little bleak. They got a little dark on me, so I pulled those.
So is it available like on Amazon, or you have to get it on your website, or some are not available at all?
Some of them, they're not available at all. My original sci-fi epic, or it's a space opera trilogy, it's not available. And then I had 3 epic fantasy books, which were kind of set in a sword and musket as opposed to a medieval. And I thought the idea was fantastic, but the story got a little bleak. It almost was horror in places.
And then, so you didn't like it, you decided not to publish it?
Yeah, I pulled it.
Huh.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of an odd thing. I do want to go back and redo the fantasy because I really enjoyed that, and I'm a big history buff, so that age appeals to me a lot.
It's interesting because I don't know that rewriting it makes sense. If you I can think of the name of the book. Who wrote it? It's he wrote the book Outwitting the Devil, and his wife had it and never published it until after he passed away. Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Outwitting the Devil, and it was very different from Think and Grow Rich or some of his other books. And they were never going to publish it. And you think about how old that author was, like he wrote in the 30s. And so by the time when he passed away, his wife basically published it.
Really? I didn't know.
And it's a good book. I would recommend picking it up and reading it.
Outwitting the Devil.
Outwitting the Devil. I'm almost sure it's Napoleon Hill. It's in my office, Pat, but if you want to Google that real quick, I'm pretty sure it's Napoleon Hill. Yeah, okay. So, but anyway, it's sometimes, the stuff that we critique ourselves on is sometimes your best work. So
yeah, very famously, Stephen King, was it Carrie? Or was it, I think it was Carrie. He threw it away. The legend is. I don't know how true this is, but I've heard it several places. Apparently he threw it away in frustration, and his wife picked it up. And
I feel like there's some truth to that. You know, I feel like there must be.
And you're right. It was Napoleon Hill.
It was Napoleon Hill. Okay, so Outwitting the Devil, pretty good book. I love to read, and I love to write. So I think you either have that or you don't, right? Like some people don't. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because my mentor wrote the foreword on my first book, and he wrote all these stats, including the people that buy a book, the people that get a book for a gift, the people that actually open it, the percentage of people, right, that actually open it, the percentage of people that read past the first forward or couple chapters versus just skim through it, and how many people start it versus how many people finish it. And then also compared to how many people not only finish it, but highlight and write in it. And that's a very, very, very small number.
It is.
And so it's fascinating to me that people don't finish books. So even if they suck, I'll usually put it down and maybe come back to it another time, or I'll try to hurry up through it just to finish it. And then be like, oh yeah, I didn't like that one. But Outwitting the Devil was interesting. I haven't read it in a long time, but it was a pretty good read, and I can understand why he never published it at the time that he wrote it. Oh. It'll make sense when you read it.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Well, when are we going to get to these books?
Okay,
because there is a book
now.
there that attracted my attention about. One of them, the seedy part of. Is it Tampa or Ybor City?
CD, yeah, I think the.
And where did you get this information?
So Interbay Squeeze Play.
Yeah, Interbay, that's in book 4.
The King of West Tampa. Mm-hmm. The Gasparilla Job.
Yeah.
You know, I want to talk about that, being a crew member. What else? So you got Temple Terrace, Badger Game. What's your first one on the city it's actually published? That's
called Tampa Heat.
Tampa Heat.
Yeah,
okay.
Temple Terrace Badger Game is actually a free ebook that people get when they sign up for my email list.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that's a good place to sample my work if you want to. But my first book is Tampa Heat. And Tampa Heat, I was telling you guys off the air, but I'll give a lot less detail because there's a little bit of...
Yeah, give our listener a little
plot.
glimpse on why someone would want to pick that book up.
So Tampa Heat, a couple of things about Tampa Heat. So I'll get a little background. I was a fireman. I was writing sci-fi and fantasy. I love being both a firefighter and writing sci-fi and fantasy. But I decided... I was working with a guy 20-something years ago. I didn't tell this story off the air, I was working with a guy like 20-something years ago. And ironically, he doesn't mind me using his name. His name was Bill Ratliff, which you two guys should probably recognize that name.
Sure.
It was a coincidence. Mm-hmm. So Bill Ratliff, he was talking to me, and he's like, yeah, we were working at a fire station. I sure hope we sleep tonight because I got to run down a skip tomorrow. And I'm like, a skip? I said, what are you, a bounty hunter on your days off? And he's like, I do some PI and bail bonds work. And that was cool, I thought, wow, that's it. And, I'm already writing sci-fi and fantasy. So in my mind, I went, that's a story.
I want to follow that guy. Yeah.
And I cannot write it because I work for the fire department.
Okay.
So I skipped it. Well, I couldn't do it justice, right? So I skip ahead, 20 years. Well, at that same time, or right before that, there was a case in Tampa that was... let's just say I considered it something of a controversial,
public interest type story.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, that's a really neat idea, but I can't touch that either. Well, skip ahead 20 years, and I'm retired from the fire department.
By the way, Hillsborough County Fire
Department.
Yes,
I'm sorry, Hillsborough County. Yeah, I did 4 years. I got to give love to my Pasco brothers and sisters too. I did 4 years with Pasco County from '96 to 2000, and then in 2000. I came over to Hillsborough County, and I did my last 21 years with Hillsborough. And
the character.
Yes.
Okay.
So skip ahead, I retired, And those books that we were just talking about, the fantasy books, I had a release that didn't go the way I wanted. I had COVID. A lot of things went wrong, went sideways, had some technical issues.
Everything went sideways in COVID.
Yeah, it was a tough time. And so I was pretty down in the dumps. And I said, you know what? I'm having a lot of, it's very frustrating. Writing career is very humbling. And I said, you know what? This is the time to change gears. I said, let's go after that Tampa story that you thought of 20-something years ago. Let's write that. It's a local interest story. You can go out and sell it in the local markets. People are going to like it. I know this stuff very, very well. Put your heart and soul into it. Let's get it done. And I love hard-boiled detective stories. So I did. That's exactly what I did. I wrote 3 books at once, and I released them.
Wait, 3 in the series you did? Okay, wow, okay.
Mm-hmm. So I wrote all 3 before. It's a strategy with indie writers called rapid release. So I wrote book 1, 2, and 3, and I was actually still writing 3 as I was prepping 1. So 3 I got under the gun, but
my brain would be overloaded.
It's a lot of fun. It's what I do, man. I love it. It's a lot of fun. And so I released 1 in July and Memorial Day weekend of 23. Book 2 was the middle of June, and book 3 was July 4th.
Wow.
And so I released all of those, back to back. And, the thing is now you have 1 book, and once people read 1, you at least have 2 more for them to read. And that's kind of how you make your money as an indie writer. So, when I sat down, I absolutely stole the idea of a firefighter PI who was, firefighter who did PI work on his days off, which I thought was a really neat idea. And one of my favorite reviews on Amazon is a guy who tells me, "Oh, was it perfect? I love the book. The politics, the characters were great, but I took off 1 star because I just don't believe a fireman would be a PI." And I'm like, "Well, thanks, bro. I appreciate that because that's one of the most realistic things about the book." So, yeah. So in doing that, I wanted to incorporate a little bit of fire department, but a whole lot of Tampa. And I do know a little bit of the shady history, and I do some background stuff. And I've worked Tampa streets.
Yeah.
Hillsborough County, unincorporated Hillsborough County. I worked some pretty rough areas. And, you get a feel for that kind of thing.
You see stuff.
You see stuff
the general public does not see.
Correct. And so you're able to take that and incorporate that into your story and do a little research and add some history to it. And there you go.
So how much in the books would you say is there's some truth into the storyline?
So
so a lot of people don't know Tampa history. Like there's a lot, like it started Ybor City, right? The cigar immigrants worked here. That was a big part of Tampa's culture.
Right.
And then, Cigar City is kind of taken on its own.
Plant bought the railroad that brought them here. Yep. Mm-hmm.
The history is pretty fascinating. And there was was it mob or mafia or both? There was a lot of that, right? In the underground.
Yeah, the mafia is Tampa has its own mafia story, which is kind of cool. And then the Trafficantes, which were the Italian mob, they kind of come in. I'd have to check the timeline, but they come in, I think, around the 1940s or 50s, when Cuba was when Cuban Revolution. So what, 50? The 50s, I guess. So when the 50s,
definitely the 50s. If you've ever been to Cuba, as soon as you get off and look, it's like a time warp, straight out of the 50s.
So when Castro had his revolution and threw the mob out, Trafficante relocated to Tampa, which I'm surprised. I would think Miami, but Trafficante came to Tampa to operate. I don't know. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I don't know what it is. But when he did that, he started taking on, Tampa had a local mobster named Charlie Wall, and that guy's a pretty cool character. And the two of them fought for a little while, and Charlie Wall was the big man in town, but Trafficante could rely on nationwide resources. So ultimately, Trafficante won that contest and drove Wall out of business. And there's some other stuff too, but the gist of it is, so we had our own kind of mob identity, and then it was taken over by the Trafficantes about the middle of the 20th century.
So talk about the book. So let's talk about Tampa Heat, right? It's the name of it. So what can someone expect? The storyline is that it's the firefighter / PI. Okay.
So my main character is firefighter Logan Walsh. He's a captain, and he is going through some marital trouble at the very beginning.
That never happens to people.
Never happens to firefighters. And it opens in Drew Park, which is, frankly, a seedy neighborhood. If you're anything, I mean, no offense to people who live in Drew Park, but you're not going to.
A lot of areas of Tampa have undergone change.
They're trying to clean up Drew Park lately.
All of it. Yeah. I tell people all the time. I remember when Hyde Park was the ghetto, and nobody believes me, and you can't afford to live there now.
Yeah,
So
actually,
expensive.
I don't remember that. Hyde Park for me was always a pretty nice place, but that used to be where I hung out as a teenager.
Hyde Park used to be the hood. Remember?
It was, and they cleaned it up a long
Yes.
time ago. But Drew Park is where Hyde Park used to be back in those days, and
Yeah,
they're
I
trying
could
to
feel
change
that.
that. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, all of Tampa's going through that.
All of
to be
Tampa's
honest.
changing. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And but anyway, so yeah, so he's a firefighter, private PI, and
What station?
at the time
Do you
it was
put that in
station
there?
25.
Okay.
Mhm. In the opening of the book, he's at 25. He gets moved around a little bit. I move him around, but he was at station 25, which at the time was kind of near and dear to. I was actually, when I retired, I was in the same battalion, but station 30, which is north of Plant City. 25 is south of Plant City.
So you launched all three of these books at the same time, right? Tampa Heat, and which one was number 2?
The Gasparilla Job. is
Oh,
number
the
2.
Gasparilla Job was number 2. Okay, so what's the Gasparilla Job about?
So,
What's our teaser for
well,
that
let me
book?
real quick. Let me just.
Oh,
finish
we're
up
finishing the
That's all
first-
right.
okay,
so
sorry.
Tampa Heat, him and his dad get involved in a case that goes back 25 years, inspired by some of those that controversial case I was talking about
Yeah.
earlier. In Gasparilla Job, right? In Gasparilla Job, Logan is retained by his former mentor and a retired fire captain who now owns a bar at the Armature Works, which is a fictitious bar out on the water. And I tell everybody, I think someone should get on that and build that because I think it's a really neat idea. So, but it's out on the water in the river, and he wants Logan to look into these ex-cons who are part of a musical band who play for him, and he's got a bad feeling about them, and everything plays out around Gasparilla, and it all goes. Of course, it goes sideways. It wouldn't be interesting if it didn't, and all that happens during Gasparilla. And so Logan actually in that he literally rides through. He literally rides through the boat parade, and I had a lot of fun with that. It was a lot of fun to do.
I bet.
And,
Well,
yeah,
Gasparilla is a big part of Tampa. I mean,
it is, and I
we're the-
wanted to feature it.
We're the third largest parade in the country. A lot of people don't realize
I
that.
didn't know that.
But Gasparilla is the third largest
Go
parade.
on, say it. I know you want to say your crew. Go on.
Well, the you know which ones are the first two, right?
The Mystic Crew.
No. The Macy's Day Parade in New York's number
Oh,
1.
I see.
Mardi Gras number 2, and Gasparilla's number 3.
But where are you in the crew? You have a crew.
2. So I'm in Crew of Brigadoon. I'll give them a big shout out. I love my Brigadoon peeps. Just spent the water all day on the water with them Saturday, and
And you're all sunburned.
yes, I gotta tell you a story about that, but we'll talk about that off air.
That's a podcast. You can say anything.
I can. And then also Crew of Sea Saviors, which is the spicy radical steampunk crew.
Oh wow, steampunk! I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the wild bunch of the crew world.
Oh well, I don't know, fireman.
Yeah.
Florian, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I saw. I connected with you on social media, and I saw we're friends with one of your fellow firefighters, Jeremy. Our kids grew up together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know Jeremy very, very well.
Yeah. Last time I saw them, actually, we were at Gasparilla. I saw him and his wife,
Yep.
and we were talking about the kids and like taking pictures of the kids, and
Yeah,
texting
he's
each
good
other.
people. I've known Jeremy
Now,
for a long
your
time.
books, do they have any pictures in them? Because I like books with pictures.
Well, they have really good pictures on the covers. I'm really proud of my cover pictures. But no pictures inside, except for me in the back, but you don't need to look at that.
So in your books, it's the same character, right? That you carry throughout each book with different stories?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the Gasparilla Job was number 2, and then which one was number 3?
King of West Tampa.
Okay.
So in the King of West Tampa, Logan is hired by an attorney who TPD has dead to rights on the murder of a prominent West Tampa merchant. That's the name of the title. And he's got to go to some seedy corners of the city to unravel the mystery of.
I tell you, West Tampa is changing a lot. Like every area of Tampa, but literally, I was there yesterday showing properties. My client has a budget of $1 million, maybe a little over $1 million. And so we were looking in that whole area, like some south of Howard, but some in Tampa Heights. And it's interesting. So when I pull the comps, you've heard me talk about this before on the air, Pat, but when we pull comparable home sales, because real estate's, my day job, that's what I do. We'll pull within a 1 mile radius, within 20% on the square foot. And then, this was new construction. So I had to look for new stuff like 2023 or newer. And it was a bigger property than a lot of other stuff in the area. Technically in West Tampa on the west side of the river. But when I'm pulling my 1 mile radius, I'm pulling stuff on the east side in Tampa Heights, Armature Works area. And I look at this and I go, an appraiser is not going to use anything east of the river. They're going to make me stay west of the river, south of MLK,
Right, sure.
like in this little north of 275. So I had to pull this, and it's interesting. Like the prices are, I would say, double, right? That same house would be double in Tampa Heights, which has also. That one rapidly went through the gentrification process, in my opinion. And it's a good, I told him, I think it's a good long-term purchase. I mean, really, it's lower now. They could probably negotiate a better deal because it's a little way over improved for the area at the moment. But they're going to be building a new house next door in some other area. So that's a good time to buy, in an area like that. Not that I wanted to go sideways in real estate, but we were talking about West Tampa, and it made me think about that.
In your book,
just yesterday.
Give me a seedy intersection in your book in West Tampa.
Whoa, in West Tampa?
Yeah,
So let's see. So in that particular episode, actually, the main crime takes place on Main Street and Howard Avenue.
Oh, let me tell you about Main Street and Howard. When I was a Tampa cop, they had the greatest chicken sandwiches there.
It's always
There's a
about the
little
food.
place there that has Wonder Bread, and they slap a chicken wing or a chicken leg or a chicken breast with the bone between the bread, and they hand it to you, but it's so delicious.
It's always about the
my
food with
God.
Patchword.
Listen,
always.
I'm with them. Listen, cops and firemen, they must be the same.
Definitely.
The most important thing, when we would get together in the morning for our station duty, the most important order of the day was figuring out what our food was going to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which is always interrupted when you start to cook it.
Yeah, or when you just go to shop for it. Yeah, it's tough.
Wonder how many times the firemen actually leave the stove on to rush out the door and have to come back to their own station.
So I'm not going to tell crews. I'm not going to tell names, but yeah, it's happened.
I knew
Especially
it.
the grill outside.
I knew it.
Yeah, we've had at least two crews. I could think of at least two occasions where they left, where crews got it dinged on a call,
Yeah.
and they came back to a station pouring smoke.
That's hilarious.
Which
Sorry. You
one?
have to laugh at that.
Which one of these books are you most proud of up to this date?
Ooh, that's tough.
Oh, I know it would be tough, but get close.
Oh,
Which one are you
man.
most proud of, and which one has the best feedback? Like, which ones do people like the best?
Well, the one that does the best on reviews are my later books. But
Okay.
there's but the people who don't like book 1 don't read book 2, 3, and 4. So
Right.
there is a little bit of
Sure.
Having said that, the book that gets the best is probably, it's either an Alify hijacking, but I think it's probably, which is book 5, but I think it's probably book 4, which is Interbase Squeeze Play. But I'd have to go back and check that.
Same characters or different?
All same characters.
Okay.
In Interbase Squeeze Play, and I think the reason why, I always tell people, you're a writer, you want them to read it in order. You don't have to, right? But there are some spoilers sometimes when I talk about old books, especially in the beginning of which if I ever do a 3rd edition, Gasparilla Job is bad about that. But the other thing is these characters, even though the mysteries are mystery of the week and they are all self-contained and you have a complete story, usually I try to put a complete character arc, so it's also character-driven. But there's a journey, journey's fine. But the characters are growing and developing and creating these relationships and becoming intertwined. And
just like people, just like life.
like real people.
Mhm.
And so in book 4, Interbase Squeeze Play, Logan is put in a particularly special bind that puts him at odds with other characters that up until hitherto he's had a better relationship with.
Mm.
And, so that's the, that I guess is probably the one that I get the best feedback on.
Okay.
The one that I'm the most proud of is a lot harder because, for instance, the Gasparilla Job probably still has my favorite chapter. I don't recommend you read them out of order, but the chapter's called On Killing and Killing.
Okay.
Or the difference between killing and killing, something to that effect. It's probably my favorite chapter. I'm not going to tell you why, but I love that chapter. And
We'll have to get the book to read it and
yes,
see why.
you will.
By the way, where can we find these books real quick? And right after that, Katrina, I want you to let everybody know where they can find this podcast.
Okay.
So my books are available at Amazon, anywhere you buy ebooks, and ThadDiazAuthor.com is my own website, and you can buy direct from my
Are
store.
any of these books audiobooks?
Not yet. I have a couple that are Lunatic City, which is one of my sci-fi projects. It has the first 3 are audiobooks, and you can get those wherever audiobooks are sold. And I will very soon have them on my store. But right now, I'm in the middle of transitioning to
It's a process to get them on Audible. I know because I haven't
is.
done mine yet either.
Yeah,
Remember,
it is.
Pat, when I was going to do it right after the
I
book?
need it because I'm not a good reader, but I'm a good listener.
Well, right after the
Sort of.
book launch, remember, I thought I was going to lose my voice. Remember when I was going through that whole thing with my voice, and I was like, Pat, I might need you to read my book.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, I would do radio, and then I would get off after an hour of radio and feel like I couldn't talk for the rest of the day.
Yeah,
It was so bad.
yeah. I have mine are done by professional voice actor, narrator, voice actor. I think is the term they prefer.
But if you listen to audiobooks, and I do, I read them too. I listen to more than I read just because I can
Me
get
too.
through them when I'm moving around and all that stuff. I always love the books that are read by the authors instead of the ones that are read by someone else.
I think that works a lot, but maybe your mileage may vary. I think that works for nonfiction books.
Okay.
I listen to Gary Vee and some other folks, and when I'm listening to that,
Maybe
book,
that's why, because that's most of what I listen to.
right.
You could be right about
But
that.
when you're reading fiction, like for instance, I've got one of my favorite characters, which came out of nowhere, but I love him, is a Cajun. He speaks with a Cajun dialect. I can't do a Cajun accent,
Okay, that's fair.
right?
That's
I
fair.
can write one a little bit just because I can listen to him, but to ask me to do a Cajun accent is impossible.
Well, and if you've got different characters, it'd be super cool to have different people narrating the book. Like,
You
I don't know
can.
that they let you do that.
They do.
They do.
It's
Okay.
expensive. You got to pay each of them. I don't actually like that. Some people do. That's called what do they call that? A teleplay? That's not a teleplay, but it's some kind of a play. I'd have to remember what they call it. But you can have multiple actors do it, and that's fine. But some people, I find it distracting. I like to have just one narrator. But everybody's and that is a very popular thing to do.
It's got to be expensive.
Oh yeah, because you got to pay each of the actors, right? So they wouldn't get paid. It just and for me being an indie guy, it would be more cost efficient to have one. But as a reader, I personally like Dune. I don't know if you've ever read, but Dune has a bunch of, and it's very distracting to me. So I prefer one. But everybody's different.
All right, where can we find this podcast?
Well, the podcast, this Tampa Home Talk's been around for 13 years. And, once we do the podcast now, it goes to the station as opposed to before. We would do live radio, chop it up, Pat would send it back, and then we would drop it on the podcast. So we kind of flipped it on its head, which has given us a lot of grace in terms of time, when we can start, how long we can talk. We don't have to break for commercials. So I kind of have enjoyed that part of the podcast and the video. The studios had quite a change. So anywhere where you listen to podcasts, you can find Tampa Home Talk. So you just search for it, and we do
That's
one-off.
like Spotify, iTunes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You can
That's where I
tell
found it.
All the
Alexa
platforms.
to play Tampa Home Talk, and she'll start playing right away.
And as a matter of fact, later today, if you tell Alexa to play Tampa Home Talk's latest episode,
She'll play it, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a nice little surprise, the life story of Mason Dixon.
Yeah. So this one, are we streaming live or no? I can't remember. No.
Yes, we are streaming live
Okay.
on your Facebook and YouTube now.
We're so mixed up. I don't know if we're live most of the time or we're recording and launching it later. I don't know. I just pretend like we're live all the time. And
You just talk. I'll put it on the platforms.
All right. So we talked about books, 1 through 6?
Well, I have 6 out. I'm doing 7. I'm doing post-production on 7 right now.
Okay. So they're not out yet. So what's a teaser on the next book?
So, I hadn't thought about that. So let me see here.
Did you name it yet?
Yep, I have a name. I haven't released it. I guess
Okay.
I can release it here.
Well, it depends on if you've already secured the rights.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
Well, remember, today you're live.
I'm live today, so we're just going to tell the world. So it's called Riverwalk Runaway.
Oh,
And
nice.
It is Logan is retained by a former. He's also a former firefighter. All his clients are not former firefighters. Only 2. So this guy's a former firefighter who hits him up through the union. He wants him to look for this missing granddaughter of his, and Logan goes again to some pretty rough parts of the city. It's something. Well, I'll just leave that out because I don't want to be too spoilerish. But it's one I'm glad to be able to write, and it's almost an accident that I can write it. Let's just put it. That
I
way.
love all the Tampa names like woven throughout the book. I just love
but
that.
is this based on a true story? How much percentage-wise is it true?
So now, none of my stories beyond. So Tampa Heat does borrow from a controversial case, which is highly fictionalized.
but it's all fiction.
And I play with it's all fiction.
Yeah.
The rest are all pure out of my imagination. Tampa, West Tampa, King of West Tampa comes from a kernel of a true crime show I saw once. I thought, man, that's a neat idea. I'm going to use that.
I tell you, this gal that cleaned my house, her mom cleaned my house for a long time. Then she passed away, and then her daughter was cleaning it for a while. And now she's, has a different job. But she has all these dreams all the time. I don't dream. So, I mean, technically you do every night, but I don't dream. And her and I were talking about it because she knows I'm an author, and she was telling me all these ideas that she has for books, and it would be fiction. And I was like, whoa, that's a good storyline. You should definitely write a book. I think that would be very interesting to read.
Yeah.
Some people have an incredible imagination. My brain thinks, I think, more linear, more like business-like. It's not as creative.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody. Yeah, I've always been like a dreamer. I've always been a daydreamer. I don't know. I like you. I don't remember my dreams, which is that's fine. But
I wake up every day with dream. I didn't dream. I don't.
Yeah, you had dreams. You just don't remember them. But my thing is, like I do, like as a daydreamer, I've always been kind of a daydreamer, and so I'm able to kind of. I don't know. I've always liked like history. I borrow from history. I'm a big history buff, so I got all these stories running around in my head, and I'm interested in people and so,
I dream every night.
And you remember everything, and you wake up and can tell people
it's because I leave my
dreams?
television on.
Oh.
And I left a Netflix documentary on last night, and all my dreams last night were about the coming of the end of the world, because it was all about the atom bomb.
You watch wild stuff, though. Like, I can't sleep with the TV on. It's got to be total darkness.
I can't go to sleep without a television.
And you watch crazy stuff all the time.
Yeah, I've slept around a TV a few times, and it definitely, then I can remember. Like, I'm like,
really?
What was on TV last night? Yeah, I can remember, which I assume means I'm not sleeping very well, but,
Yeah, you're definitely not sleeping very well.
Yeah, I know plenty of firemen who sleep, firefighters, I guess, is a political group. So I knew plenty of firefighters who slept with the TV on, and I don't know what that was about, but that does seem to be a thing that I've seen a lot of. But I've done it before, like where I'll fall asleep in front of the TV, and if it runs all night, I can tell you what was on.
If you had to do your life over again, would you be a firefighter, or would you start out as an author?
Nope, I would do the same all over again.
That's great.
I thank you. I enjoyed 21 years of the fire department. By about year 21, I was
Get a little tired. Anything. 20 years of anything is like burnout for most people.
Yeah,
You're ready to change direction and do something different.
Yeah. So I enjoyed the fire department. It was fantastic. I got tired of some of the worst of the worst that the fire department deals with, and I was kind of over that. But I always loved the writing thing, and so I could probably do this for 40 years. I don't think I'll get tired of it. Maybe I will, and if I do...
If you do enough of anything, I think after 20 years you get tired of it.
It's possible.
And now all your books are paperback, hardback, and the length of the books.
Yeah. So I do have both paperback and hardback, and I do have ebooks on every book that I have. The thrillers average around between 75 and low 90s, 91, 92. So that's usually the typical range of a thriller. Sometimes they get up around 100,000 words, but usually they're a little shorter. And my sci-fi stuff is actually on the short side of that. Some of them, they range from about 50 to about 70. So they're a little bit shorter. They're more pulpy.
And that would be translating that in pages.
Oh, well, that depends on your typeset and stuff. I actually have larger print, and I'd have to look. So one of the things that happened when I was doing the 10 dot print, which is kind of the standard, that came back, and I took one look at that, and I went, I can barely read that. So I'm changing it. I think it's a 12 dot is what I ended up going with. And it's much better as far as being able to read.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually get a lot of compliments on that, which makes me happy. Makes the book a little more expensive, but that also bumps up the page count, which I think if you looked at them, they're 350 to 450 in the
they're
page
like
pretty
about,
good size
Katrina,
book.
They're about the size of your books.
That's a good size book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think mine are that many pages.
Really?
No, I don't think they're that many pages. I should know how many pages my book is, but I don't.
Yeah, well.
So I can tell you the next one will be over 300 pages.
Yeah. It's
because of the nature of the book.
Yeah, I don't do page count either. I do word count.
Yeah.
Because that's really what matters.
I don't remember any of that. I always say my brain is for processing, not storage. It doesn't retain any of that information at all. You can go look it up.
Well, to be honest with you, nonfiction books especially are a little more you're done when you're done kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, fiction genre, generally speaking, has
You keep
some
going.
expectations. Yeah, there's usually some like expectations of, you know, you really need to hit this page, this word count.
You know,
Generally speaking.
somebody out there wants to write a book. They feel, I can't write a book. I wasn't very good in school. I'm going to tell you right now, I was a C average student. And I always say to myself, I could never write a book. I'd have to find somebody to write the book for me if I ever wanted to do anything like that. But what kind of student were you?
It depended on the subject. My science and math grades were terrible. But
you write science fiction.
He got an A in history. I
But my
bet.
English and history were phenomenal. I was an extreme student.
That's like most kids, right? You're either you're interested in what you're interested in.
Yeah, that's not much.
Yeah,
of an
but he likes to
excuse.
read too.
I do like to read a lot, and so I did A's and B's in A's in history, but I did A's and maybe B's in science in English, but I did probably C's and under. In fact, I remember one time chemistry, I failed that, and I didn't try the first semester. I admit that, but the second semester I tried and still got my butt kicked, and I was pretty defeated by that. But
So do you feel you have to be pretty creative to write a book?
So I think that most people, I think that the science, the mysticism that surrounds books, and maybe some of this is because I enjoy it so much, but I think that's overblown. I think that yes, talent is great. You really should have you really have a little bit of talent, but you know, hard work beats talent. I actually have I've got a script for a YouTube video that says that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I'm a firm believer that if you want to learn it and you have a passion for it and it's something that you want to do, you can absolutely learn the skills, practice, write, read, do all the stuff. And yeah, you can come along. You can become a writer. Absolutely.
I mean, the truth is, in this day and age, anybody could write a book. Anybody.
Don't say
I'm
it.
telling
Don't
you,
say it.
They can.
Don't use those two letters.
Between AI, which is not the only thing, but the other thing too is there's ghostwriters. There's people that will interview you and help you organize your story. So I mean, anybody could write a book. If you have a story, you can write a book.
Yeah, ghostwriters, they're expensive though.
Yeah, they can be very expensive.
AI, it's, you know, we were talking a little bit. It's here to stay. There's nothing you can do about it. I do not use AI in my writing. I won't. Mainly, there is a principal issue there for me, but mostly I just enjoy writing. I don't want a computer.
I use AI in my texts.
I use AI. I will say what I use AI for. I do use AI for business stuff, and I use it to help me write blurbs for my books and that kind of stuff, like promo stuff, because those are different skills, and I don't have that stuff.
So my second book was an AI written book. It was
really?
It was like an experiment with my mentor because he's helping all these people. I'd already written my first book, like really legitimately wrote it, like all the blood, sweat, and tears of an author. The second one it feels like cheating, but I did it because again, a whole group of my peers did it, and my mentor wanted everybody to do it, and it's something they had kind of mastered. So they're really small, and I didn't have that many reservations about it because it's really like a business card book. It's super thin.
Yeah.
There's not even a title in the spine. It's just a quick little, hey, here's my story. Here's what you would get if you hired me and my team for real estate. So I don't have as many reservations about that.
Material.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fair. That's fair to say that. Yeah. So my third one is my love language, and it is all me, but I did use a little AI, and honestly, I didn't like the output. So I ended up reworking a lot of it anyway, but it does help with writer's block. So if you get stuck, it can it can give you that little push or that little extra thing you need to keep running in the direction you want to run. You don't have to use it, but it does help.
Yeah, you know, I kind of, when it comes to writer's block, my philosophy on that is plumbers don't get plumber's block. You know, you just got to keep putting words on the page until something hits. Yeah, something you hit a stride. But I do understand what you're saying about AI. AI, that is something, and I don't know any personally authors, but online I've heard of folks that they use it for that purpose, and then they reconstruct.
I think we have to embrace it because, like you say, it's here to stay. It's not leaving. And when I think about AI, and I think about even things like art, like, you know, I collect art, Pat. I have a ton of art, and so I think about even one of my favorite painters, which is Michael Goddard. He's commissioned to do so many things. Everybody knows him as like the olives and the cards and the alcohol. Like he was famous for all that stuff. And then he's gone on to do a bunch of other things, but he's collected by many celebrities all over the world. He actually did a whole bunch of artwork in the Las Vegas Raiders stadium, like all over. It's on my bucket list anyway, to see every team in the NFL at every stadium, but that's the top of my list. I want to see that one first. And it's crazy because even he has started to play with AI. And so one of the things, and I actually bought one of these pieces when Chris was alive, we bought it, but he was talking to AI and said if Michael Goddard, which is him, and Leonardo da Vinci were to create some artwork, what would it look like?
Really?
And so it's this whole like AI thing, and then basically just signs it and whatever. But what comes out of it's pretty cool. And I can't imagine that as an author, it doesn't spark additional things that he actually paints, right? So I think the role of AI is to use it as a tool and not a. I was telling someone at lunch yesterday about this. I think the future of AI and the way people use it at a high level is to use it as a tool and not as a crutch. I think if you use it as a crutch, you're going to be replaced because the people that do jobs like, they're not really doing it. They're not using any thinking skills. They're going to be rapidly replaced by machines and robots and other things that can do your job. But people that think, including like writers, it requires thought and process and skill to do that. You're always going to have a job.
Well, I know you're going to wrap this up in a minute. So Thad Diaz, author, can you give us the list of books you have? And I want you to sell me on why I should go buy one of your books, read one of your books.
And can you do it out of order? Like, can you buy one out of order, or does it mess it up?
So, okay. So my books, my Cigar City Case Files, Tampa Heat, Gasparilla Job, King of West Tampa, Interbase Squeeze Play, LFI Hijacking, and 7th Avenue Shakedown. Obviously, I just announced Riverwalk Runaway. However, you can read them out of order. The author in me
says
hurts a little
don't.
bit when you do, but I do.
It's a natural, normal question, right? I have to ask.
It is. The mysteries stand alone. The character stuff does go throughout, so they are better read in order. I would say I would compare them to in both in tone and style. I hope I'm not being presumptuous, but I think Dennis Lehane's Patrick Kinsey, Angie Gennaro series, that there's a lot of similarity in that they have a personal story and cases that go throughout.
So if you like those authors, they may like your books.
That's Dennis Lehane, so that's a little it's like I said, that's a big name there, but I do think they comp pretty well with them. As far as why you'd want to read them, these are character-driven stories that are, the guy's a very blue-collar, goes through a lot of trouble, a lot of struggles. The mysteries are tight. The stories, I think, are, like I said, in addition to being typical mysteries which have a lot of plotting in them, they're also very character-driven. I think one of the things that people compliment me on is that my characters are very relatable. They cheer for and against certain people, and I think that makes these stories very readable.
Are there cliffhangers from one book to the next, or they finish up and then the next book's a new story?
That's a sacrilege. So, no, I'm just kidding. But no, a good writer should not leave
anyone hanging.
Just
had to ask because there's a whole series, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
you did 3 back-to-back, so it was a relevant question.
Yeah, no. That's a completely fair question, and other authors may have different opinions about it. I will say, generally speaking, in the writer community, it's frowned upon to leave. That's kind of a cheap hook. No offense to writers who do write. Now, occasionally, some of his personal stuff has a little bit of an open end to it, but the mysteries themselves are all closed.
Unlike radio, where we're a little cheap, we like to leave the details.
It's a little different, though. You all you got to do is tune in tomorrow for it. You don't have to wait 6 months.
That's
for a
right.
book to
You're
come
right.
out.
It is very different. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this version of Tampa Home Talk. It was lovely to interview you. I can't wait to check out your stories and your books. I'm definitely going to read them, and I'll give you some feedback from one author to another.
Love to hear it.
I'll leave you my book, and I would highly encourage you to pick up one of these mystery-filled Tampa-related fun books.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
this is Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell, here in the studio with Thad Diaz. If you want to connect with us on our off-air number, you want to get connected to Thad, as always, just call or text our off-air number. We're happy to send you a link and get you connected, 813-377-2775. That's our off-air number, 813-377-2775. This is Katrina Madewell. Love where you live, or we're going to fix it. Welcome home.